West Virginia, Iowa State getting it on Saturday in Ames, Iowa. And we're talking about a battle, unfortunately, for last place in the Big 12. This is our West Virginia show that we present here at the Voice of College Football each and every Friday night. We'll be here for the next 45 minutes. 44th consecutive time here. Joey Foster's on the line with us tonight. How about that? Joey, what's going on tonight?
Hi, Mark. Doing good, man. Ready to get a victory tomorrow.
There you go.
Though Ames, Iowa was a pretty tough place to go. So,
yeah, a lot of bad things happen to opponents up there. People get lost and they can't find their way, and they get snoozed to sleep and show up the next day with a loss hung on them. But we'll see what the Mountaineers can do. Both teams are 3-5. The Mountaineers do have a win in conference. Iowa State's 0-5 with 5 close losses. And leave your comments and questions, folks, there in the live chat. We are going to have Levi Stevenson on in a few minutes from SB Nation to talk up the Cyclones. What I want to hear from you, Joey, is what happened against TCU, because I caught some of that game, and hey, it was a 34-31 game in the last couple minutes, so there was a chance.
Yeah, there was, and it just goes back to it's every time we got into that game and we got really close in that game, it seemed like we took a step back. It'd be 3 down and out, or just a turnover, or just anything. Step that stalls drives for us every week, like a penalty, just a silly penalty. We get down inside the 10-yard line, we get a false start. We call timeout, we come in out the timeouts, and boom, we get a delay of game. It just stuff that makes no sense, and things that have make the West Virginia fans say it's time for a change in Neil Brown. I'm not all for that, although I will have to say after last couple of weeks, I have been. So, but I'm still on the fence with Neil. I think Neil's a great coach, and he's proven to be a fantastic coach Sunday through Friday. We picked up a big 4-star commitment today, so a wide receiver. So I'm real happy with the recruiting. I'm real happy with the culture. I'm real happy with how the players, the respect they have the program. They're, it's just great up there. Problem is, he's got to be able to coach on Saturday. Coaching Sunday through Friday is one thing, and he's not able to coach on Saturday very good right now. So that's got me worried.
So our commit here, you're talking about Sean Boyle, the quarterback.
No, I'm talking about Trylon Ray. Trylon Ray, he came in today. He's a 4-star wide receiver out of Tallahassee, and he was recruited by Florida, Mississippi State, Tennessee, West Virginia.
Yep.
And I think Georgia. And he committed today. He was down to 3. He had chosen between Mississippi State, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Today he committed to West Virginia. And it goes back to what I'm saying. Neil Brown is a great coach on recruiting, great coach in the culture, great coach in the players, all love him. Just Saturday, just having trouble on Saturday. And now I'll give you some keys to tomorrow that I wrote down earlier, and I was just looking over them earlier. Iowa State's a great team. They've got the number 1 defense in the Big 12. But here's their problem, and here's where I think West Virginia can win this game. Iowa State averages less than 100 yards a game on the ground, and West Virginia is very good at stopping the run. Very few teams rush for more than 100 yards against West Virginia. So they're not going to be able to run against us at all, not a bit. And here's the good thing: we're 2-1 against teams that don't run for 100 yards, but we're 1-4 against teams that do get 100 yards. Texas got 109 on us, I believe it was. So we have to we've got to be able to stop their run, keep them under 100 yards. That gives us a good chance. And then we've proven that we can move the ball. We can get up and down the field against about anybody. Now we're going to face the number 1 defense in the Big 12. So if we can get our passing game going just a little bit, we will, we will be, I think, have a better chance of winning this game. We just got to get our passing game going. I think we can stop them pretty much offensively, especially on the ground. We can stop through the air. We did it against Baylor. We did not do it against Texas Tech. So, but Baylor, even though Baylor got 400 yards passing against us, we were able to win the game. So if we can do that tomorrow against Iowa State, we can give up some passing yards. We just got to keep them from being able to run it, make them one-dimensional, and outscore them.
Well, it's not been too difficult to outscore Iowa State this year. So they're number one in the conference, like you say, in defense. They've had one of the worst offensive showings in the entire nation this season. Just don't score against anyone. And they put up 13 against Oklahoma last week. They've got a 9 spot against Kansas State and 11 against Kansas. And that's pretty much what they're struggling by trying to do. 10 against Iowa. There it is. That's about what they score every week. So,
but like I say, our we are so bad in our secondary. Our secondary, I mean, if they had a cork in their hand, they couldn't stop up a bottle and keep the wine from pouring out. I mean, literally, they're that bad. And people are just gashing us, and we can't tackle in the secondary. We can't cover in the secondary. It's really bad. So, we have to, if we can control the line on Iowa State, though, maybe get some pressure on the quarterback. That's kind of what we did against Baylor. I mean, we had a little bit of pressure on them, and kept them out of sync. Even though they got 400 yards, we were able to win the game because we were able to get some 3 and outs, or, turn them over and take the ball. So we have to be able to do that against Iowa State tomorrow. And if we don't, this could be very ugly. And that score right there may very well happen if we can't control the line of scrimmage on our defense. When we have a defense out there, we need to control that line and get some pressure on the quarterback, or that's going to end up being the score right there.
Folks, appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Hopefully, most of you are watching on the West Virginia channel. So that's where we would like you to be. You see the ticker at the bottom of the screen. Please subscribe to our West Virginia channel. We got videos posted there from Mountaineer Paul. Coos Walker stops by once in a while, posts a video. And obviously, we've got our live show that we do here every week that also simulcasts on the West Virginia channel that we are looking to build to 1,000 subs. So please help us get it there. I believe we're around 722 right now. So please subscribe to the West Virginia channel. I'll leave the link there in the chat. So please do that. And the more success we have there and the more growth, the more we're going to be able to deliver more frequent content. All right, let's get the Iowa State side here. We do have Levi Stevenson dropping by from SB Nation's Wide Right Natty Light, one of the premier names on the SB Nation platform for sure. I've always enjoyed that one
for sure. Yeah, the name is top tier. The blog
is mid, but there was a lot thought. It just comes together. Anytime that there can be about 4 different directions that you can take a name, that is top shelf.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's got to win this game, Levi, and take over second to last place in the conference, right?
Somebody's got to. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm not sure who wants it more, but or if anybody wants it at all, I have no idea. But it'll be an interesting one. I'm not. I don't know. I think last I saw, Iowa State was a 7-point favorite in Vegas, and I would not put a dime on that. I don't have no idea.
7.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think last I saw, checked yesterday, I think I saw Iowa State was a touchdown favorite.
Wow.
I think where that mainly comes from is that Iowa State has one very, very elite component to their team, and that's the defense, which, I mean, by all metrics is at least a top 10 defense in college football. And if you look at like opponent adjusted yards per play, they're a top 5 defense. And that's a big component that Iowa State can lean back on, even though the offense has been awful, is that defense has kept them in basically every game. And like the Oklahoma game wasn't a one-score game, but it was pretty deceiving. There's one busted play that they gave up on defense, and then there was one interception that got returned to the 8-yard line. So they had almost nowhere. They didn't have any of the field to defend basically. So the Oklahoma score was pretty deceiving from a defensive performance standpoint. But by every metric, Iowa State's defense is phenomenal. They've actually, amazingly, somehow, John Haycock this is probably his best performance as a coordinator, because they lost Mike Rosen, Jake Hummel, and all these guys, and somehow the defense has gotten better. I don't know how he does it, but somehow the defense has gotten better. But the wild card here is, what does Iowa State's offense look like? There's a lot of raw talent there. The running game is not good. It's not that the running backs themselves are bad. The offensive line is a bad run blocking unit. Pass blocking, they're fine. Run blocking, not great. And that leads to a very poor running game, which makes the rest of the offense a lot more difficult. That said, Iowa State is actually, I think I just saw yesterday that Iowa State is the seventh most pass heavy team in college football. They pass more than almost anybody else because the running game is bad. And against West Virginia's secondary, which is not great, that could be a point of emphasis there, where Iowa State is at their best. The passing game is at its best when they're trying to be a more vertical offense. Not much different from the 2018 version of West Virginia, where Will Greer and David Sills and them were chucking the ball downfield all the time. Very, very similar. That's when Iowa State is at its best. Up to this point, nobody can figure out why, but they've not done that at all. They've decided to continue to run the offense that they ran with Brock Purdy and Charlie Kohler and Breece Hall and things like that. And that offense worked with those people, but they don't have those people anymore. They have different talent. There's a ton of depth at the wide receiver spot that they just do not use down the field for whatever reason. And to me, we'll talk about it more too, but I really think that's kind of the primary hinge of this game, is what does Iowa State's offense look like?
I saw some of the Iowa game. I saw some of the Baylor game. I watched all the important plays against Oklahoma. I watched one of those 30 to 45-minute cut-down deals. And even though Oklahoma only had a one-score lead because of what I know from the Iowa State defense, plus I guess since I was watching after the game results were in, I knew what was going to happen. It was easy for me to think, well, Oklahoma seems like they're in control. But at the same time, I saw things like a 3rd and 1 at midfield where the ball gets snapped over the quarterback's head and that kills a drive. I see Hunter Decker's. Sure, Oklahoma picked off some passes, but one, again, they're at midfield. They can start a drive. And this was actually right after I think they had their best opportunity late in the game. They scored the touchdown to get within a touchdown. They sack Dylan Gabriel, push Oklahoma back, get the
Huge
punt
sack
to midfield. And then one of the first drives of the plays of the drive, Deckers overshoots everybody and throws it right to a Oklahoma safety. Yep. Kills that drive.
The defense is phenomenal. Every time that they've been asked to stand up, they have. And they've made it that MJ Anderson, I have season tickets, so I'm at every game. And that MJ Anderson sack that you were just talking about there, where they got the sack they needed. I haven't heard the stadium that loud in a long time. And Jack Trice is a loud stadium. It was ruckus after that play. And the offense just can't get out of its own way so many times, which is actually the most frustrating part about it, is that against Texas, we saw them take a step forward. They were pushing the ball downfield a little bit more. They were hitting Jalen Knoll and Xavier Hutchinson downfield. They were throwing it to open receivers. Now, obviously, Xavier Hutchinson dropped that big, deep ball that would have probably won him the game. But they threw the ball. He was still open. He makes that catch 9 times out of 10. That's still from an offensive scheme perspective, that's still a step forward, even if he doesn't make that play. Jalen Knoll, same way. They did a great job getting him. Dimitri Stanley gets open all the time. They don't throw to him nearly enough. We saw them do that stuff more against Texas, and they looked like, hey, we might be turning a corner here. And then for no apparent reason, They said they went over the bye week and said, you know what? Let's not do any of that. Let's go back to what we were doing before. And which didn't work at all. They were running bubble screens on 3rd and 10 and just nonsensical things where the offense looks super disorganized and like everyone's really not on the same page. So we know they can be good, but how many things have to go right for this offense to be as good as we think it can be? And that's been the ticket this whole time. Is, you know, the Iowa State defense is they're gonna hold an opponent well below their scoring average, well below their offensive production. That's just what they're gonna do, and it's whether or not the Iowa State offense can take advantage of it. And who knows? It's anybody's guess if they're gonna.
You got anything for Levi, Joey?
I do. You know, I was going to say, I seen an interesting stat today, you know, that Iowa State has done fairly well against the run, you know, and nobody's rushed for 200 yards against Iowa State. But West Virginia, if they get 200 yards, they're 3-0. And so if you kind of break it down to where, okay, there's a running game there, can West Virginia get that 200-yard mark against Iowa State? And, you know, this is going to be without a doubt the best defense we've faced this year. So I don't know about that 200 mark, you know. So
the thing is
an interesting stat. So that
Iowa State's defense is really good at stopping the run, like really, really good. Used to be the weakness used to be kind of like if you could get far enough to the edge that the corners were just okay at stopping the run. Well, Miles Purchase and TJ Tampa are some of the best run defenders in the Big 12, regardless of position. So the Iowa State defense that is built to spill runs to the outside to where the safeties and corners can bottle up the run is working exceedingly well because Anthony Johnson, who's been an all Big 12 corner his entire career, moved back to safety, and he's a better safety than he is a corner, and he's been phenomenal. The other corners and safeties are really, really good run defenders. It's difficult to run against Iowa State. Texas had some success, partially due to the scheme, but also partially because Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson are both very, very good running backs. And if you go back and watch the Texas game, a lot of their yards were gained almost entirely on individual effort, on turning a 1-yard gain into turning a 1-yard run into a 6-yard run by breaking some tackles and making people miss and things like that. Where it wasn't a scheme thing that got them all that yardage; it was them being really good players. One thing that's working against West Virginia here too is losing the leading rusher to injury for the rest of the season. I can't remember his name. CJ something. I can't remember his last name.
CJ Donaldson. Yes.
CJ Donaldson. That's what it is. Yep. And so losing him for the rest of the season is tough because you're losing your leading rusher, and now more of the burden falls on JT Daniels' shoulders, and now he's got to throw back, and now he's got to start throwing a bunch more into the Iowa State secondary, which is better than the front seven. And that's a point that Iowa State fans are going to look at and say, maybe we can, and JT Daniels does like to take some chances. He's thrown a decent number of picks. And I think he's thrown 7 on the season. And that's going to be something where you're looking at and say, well, maybe they can pick off a couple and get really nice field position here and there, something like that. And take a page out of Iowa's playbook and try to turn your defense into some offense. So that's what you're looking at right now, and like I said, I think that's part of the reason for that 7-point spread is that Iowa State, West Virginia's defense is really bad. Iowa State's offense is really bad. West Virginia's offense is decent, not world beaters, but they can hold their own depending on who what's going on type of thing. Iowa State's defense is really, really, really good, like top 5 defense good, and that's the kicker, is that Iowa State should be able to hold West Virginia back quite a bit. It's just, can they hold them back enough for the Iowa State's offense to find something?
Yeah, so it's like a strength on strength game, and the last time we had strength on strength was against Baylor. So, and that was a good close game, but West Virginia pulled out the win. Now, can that happen against Iowa State? That's remains to be seen. Plus, being on the road, Ames, Iowa is a really difficult environment. Always has been for West Virginia. We came in there in 2018. You were talking about that game. I mean, we got blown away
for that one.
in 2018, and that was to a bad Iowa State team. And West Virginia was pretty good that year. So, I mean, it wasn't y'all
I'm
wasn't
gonna
terrible,
push
but y'all
back on
were-
the bad Iowa State team because
y'all weren't- y'all
2018
weren't-
the 2018
you
team
know,
went 8
Oh,
and
y'all
4.
weren't. Yeah, okay, y'all weren't terrible, but you weren't your best either. Y'all weren't. I think y'all were better in 2020. 8-4 is
Well,
good.
yeah,
Though.
okay. Yeah, I mean, we had 9 and 3
Now that-
as opposed to 8
that-
and 4, but
Right. I'm not saying we were any better. I'm just saying that was a
well,
pretty
West
pretty
Virginia
good
was
offense.
good that
and
year.
you guys
West
shut 'em
Virginia
down.
was really good in 2018. They were probably like, I mean, they were ranked quite a bit higher than Iowa State. Iowa State turned out to be a very
Right.
good team that year because that was Brock Purdy and all that, whatever. But yeah, but you're right. At the time, Iowa State I think was unranked, and West Virginia was like
I would say it
6
was
or 7,
Six.
6 or 7, something like that.
Mhm.
And so something like that, yeah.
Joey, if you're going to
Y'all
call
laid
an
it to us,
8-4 Iowa State team bad, you're going to cancel out like 98% of their history. You can't do
To
that.
be fair,
I'm not
though,
saying
for
they were
98% of
bad.
our history, we
Well, I
were really
wasn't
bad.
meaning they were. I wasn't meaning they were bad. I mean, they didn't have the talent that West Virginia had that year. West Virginia was a better team, and Iowa State kind of dominated that game, just took it over in 2018. I
Dave
just think West
Montgomery
Virginia
had a
had the
great
better
game
talent.
that game. Dave Montgomery was spectacular that game, and it was actually his career high came in that game against West Virginia. So, but Dave Montgomery was great. The defense was great.
Yeah.
DeAndre Payne had a big pick. Oh yeah,
And it seems like to me up to that point, I think we were 6-0. Will Greer had thrown
Yeah,
like
you're
maybe 2
undefeated.
interceptions all year, and he threw 4 or 5 against you that game. I mean, it was just
yeah, but I don't remember how
bad
many,
game.
but it was a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
just
anyways,
bad.
so back to the
Bad day all
2022 game. But there are some parallels there in a strength on strength type of thing. The main difference being obviously that West Virginia's strength on offense is not nearly what it was in 2018, and Iowa State's defense is probably better than what it was in 2018, quite a bit better than what it was in 2018. So that's. I'm kind of tired of these strength on strength matchups because like our strength always does its job, but our weakness never does it, and that's really frustrating from our end. I know, and you guys played TCU close last week, which is really good because TCU is a very good team. So that's an encouraging sign for you guys. You guys have at least a little bit of momentum going forward. So we played TCU really close last week. Obviously, you would like to get the win, but being able to look pretty competitive against a team that honestly it's a travesty that they're not currently in contention for the playoff. But they're a really good team. You guys hung with them. That's good or whatever. Whereas we're on 5 losses in a row and all of them being extremely frustrating and disappointing. So West Virginia's got the arrow pointed more so in the right direction than Iowa State does. Even if it's not the right direction overall, it's more in the right direction than Iowa State.
Levi, we know that there was weather in the Midwest.
Yes. It was a monsoon here today, and I think tomorrow it's supposed to rain all morning, but I think it looks like it'll be sunshine by the time kickoff happens. So the field itself might be a little wet, but it should be sunny for the game. So hopefully the weather doesn't affect it too much.
Okay. And you guaranteed me the last time we had you on to talk about the Oklahoma matchup that Iowa State's in good shape going forward. Matt Campbell, you believe, is going to be around. None of these vacancies are pulling him in another direction. Nebraska, otherwise,
no.
Anything? Nope.
I would if I was a bet man, I'd put Lance Leopold on that job, but who knows? Yeah. No, I mean Matt Campbell's he's here for pretty much as long as he wants to be here, type of thing. I would say maybe the only uncertainty about the future would be what happens in the offseason with this offensive staff, with as far as coordinators and position coaches, because Tom Manning has really struggled this year and arguably struggled quite a bit last year. He's been the coordinator for a few really good offenses, and he's now a coordinator for a really, really bad one. And it's more so like the failure to adjust to personnel, I think, is the more kind of the most egregious fault in this season. Is like he says, is the inability to adjust to the roster. But there's also some questions to be answered by Jeff Myers, the offensive line coach, because that group has They've gotten stronger and they're better conditioned because of the strength and conditioning staff, but technique wise, they're not where they should be. They're not progressing where they should be from a technique and being where you're supposed to be perspective. And probably could ask some questions of Joel Gordon, the quarterbacks coach, who, he was the beneficiary of some, really good quarterback play, and Brock Purdy was obviously Brock Purdy. Kyle Kemp before him was very good. He's been beneficiary of some good quarterback play, but if you look at Brock Purdy over 4 years, he didn't really get that much better. He got a little bit smarter, but the smarter is him doing lots and lots of film study and knowing what he's supposed to be doing. But his technique really didn't improve. If you're a quarterback coach in college and your quarterback is still throwing off his back foot 4 years into his career, you didn't do your job. Like, obviously, you'd like the quarterback to fix that problem, but you're the quarterback's coach. You should be the one telling him not to throw off his damn back foot 20 times a game or whatever. And Brock got better at that as he got going because him making his own adjustments. But that's a question that's got to be asked. And now you have Hunter Deckers, who has all the natural gifts in the world. He's super athletic. He's got a big time arm, whatever. He should be, if he develops properly, he should be he should be an extremely prolific quarterback, both as a dual threat. But he's just not there. Whether it's, there's confusion in the offensive scheme, there's some technique issues, there's issues with him checking down way too much and not tucking and running enough, things like that. There's a lot of issues with that kind of stuff that a quarterback's coach should be fixing, and he's not. So there's questions that have to be asked of Jeff Myers, the offensive line, and of Joel Gordon, and of Tom Manning. I don't know if that means in the offseason, if that means that you got to get rid of them all or get rid of some of them or one of them. I don't know if that's what that means, or if it means you got to sit down with everybody in this offseason and make wholesale changes, whatever it is. So something has to change this offseason, whether it's what you're doing or the people that are doing it. Something's got to change. So that is the uncertainty of the future. But there is no uncertainty as far as, is Matt Campbell going to be here and is he the right guy for the job? It's just a matter of how's he going to get it done type of thing.
That said about Matt Campbell being the right guy for the job, and I got to think that any reasonable Iowa State fan is overjoyed to have him still there. The first real season that they broke through and became a Big 12 type contending team, a winning team, bowl team, was 2017. So that's becoming a ways.
It's 5 years ago. Yeah.
5 years ago. So, and then this being a down season, are there any grumblings about not getting rid of him, but just what's going on here? Can't we be better?
And any coach is open. It should be is open for criticism. Nick Saban can be criticized, not very much, but he can be. But so I mean, and nobody's perfect. Things happen, and we all knew going into the season it was going to be a rebuilding year. You can't lose the best quarterback, tight end, and running back. The best quarterback, running back, and top 2 tight ends in school history, and expect to just keep going, or whatever. That's a lot to replace. And we knew it would be, knew it'd be a rebuilding year. We maybe underestimated how much of a rebuilding year it would be on the offensive side, and we probably overestimated how much it would be a rebuilding year on the defensive side, considering how good they are. But it's just kind of one of those things. They've been going through a lot of growing pains on offense that you see freshmen make. It's just there's a lot of really young players that haven't played a ton of snaps playing on offense right now, and that's just kind of part of it. So there isn't really any grumblings as far as like being unhappy with Matt Campbell or anything like that. The main grumblings is that we thought that some people definitely thought the offense would be better than this, and it hurts when you're not meeting expectations, just like the rest of life. If you have expectations for something and something doesn't meet it, it's disappointing. And that's really what it is. I do think that if we go through this entire offseason and there are no personnel changes or anything like that, nothing's changed from a personnel standpoint, and we come back next season and they're doing the same thing and it sucks again, you'll start to hear some, again, not to fire Matt Campbell, but you'll start to hear more discontent say, why didn't we, are we just ignoring the problem, just hoping it goes away type of thing? And that's where you'll hear more grumblings. I don't think that will be the case. I think something will change this offseason. I don't know what it is. I think my gut says that something will change in the offseason, whether it's a position coach or an offensive coordinator. I think something will change just because right now what they're doing isn't working. It's just not. I mean, objectively, you can say, well, actually, sorry, I had a tangent in my head, and now I'm going to explain this. Okay, there for a while up to this point in the season, a lot of press conferences we heard we're really close. We're really close to we're just a few small mistakes away from being there. After the last game, when they were bad on offense, we didn't hear that in the press conference afterwards. And while Matt Campbell is the absolute undisputed king of coach speak, he is still pretty calculated with what he says. And he didn't use that line last week about we're so close, we're really close to being there and getting going. He didn't use that line, which tells me that he recognizes there's an issue and that they've regressed in ways throughout the season, and that something that they're not that close to being good on offense unless they make changes in play calling, or maybe they need to adjust the blocking scheme or whatever it is, or personnel decisions. They need to change out different offensive personnel, whatever it is. There's a recognition there that there is a problem and that it needs to get fixed. Not that that's obvious to everybody that watches that there's a huge problem. But it's one thing for fans to complain about it while they're watching the game and they're on Twitter just talking about, oh, the offense sucks, or I could call plays better than this, even though they've never, they only ever played Madden in their life or whatever, and there's a difference between that and between coaches saying this is bad, it needs to get fixed, something needs to change. That's when you know that they're taking it, when they've recognized that something big needs to change. It's not just little tweaks here and there. It's something that big needs to change. So that is encouraging, is that he's clearly unsatisfied with how it goes. He's no longer in the camp of we just need to make these little tweaks and we can make it all happen type of thing. So that's good. Is that we've got that, where we've reached the understanding that we've accepted the problem, that there is a problem, now we got to go about fixing it type of thing. So I don't know. It's also hard because, like I said, Matt Campbell speaks coach speak better than anybody. He can say so much without saying much of anything. So eventually you kind of learn to decipher it a little bit, and like certain phrases he uses or how he says certain things, you can kind of decipher a little bit what the mood in the room is. But it's still, it's still hard to know that without being inside the football facility.
Joey, anything else for Levi?
Well, no, I wanted to just talk for a second about the running game again of West Virginia. I know C.J. Donaldson is out, but a lot of people don't realize C.J. Donaldson's not really our starter. Our starter is Tony Mathis, and he doesn't have the yardage because he was injured for a couple of games, so he doesn't have as many yards. But he's probably just as good of a running back as C.J. Donaldson, and probably a little bit faster. And Johnson, who's our third string back, he's seen a lot of playing time this year and has done fairly well for himself. So I don't think our running game is going to be hampered, but that defense of Iowa State's going to hamper it. I do believe that. They're not going to shut them down, but they'll probably hold them, be my guess, to about 100 to 110 yards total for the game. That's what I feel like that's going to happen here.
That's probably fairly good.
Can't pass the ball like these other teams can. Now our secondaries are in shambles, but y'all have thrown like last week you threw 3 interceptions. Am I right? So he did throw 3
interceptions. He did throw for 300 yards, which is notable.
Right.
So, I mean, they put up good yard. Part of it is on volume. They threw 57 passes. But completed 37 of them for 300 yards. So it's not a huge yards per completion. But it's a kind of a dink and dunk offense, much to my chagrin.
Yeah,
but they can be really effective, and they do have explosive targets that if used properly can take the top off a defense, and we've seen them do it. It's just that for whatever reason they just don't. I don't know why, but yeah,
well,
like
now,
I said,
I'm reading this comment on the screen, and that's true. We do have a quite a few injuries. And Matt Campbell's a good coach, and we have not been very good on the road. But I will say, the worst game on the road for us probably, this year was Texas, obviously. We got blown out in Texas. But it seems like we were the start of Texas's storm. They've been pulling everybody else. So, I mean, pretty good. So I look at
Not
I
Iowa
look at on the
State.
road to Pitt though. Here's the thing about here's what I'm looking at. I compare Iowa State and Pitt to be sort of similar as far as their game, and it was a pretty competitive game. It stayed all the way to the end. That's how I see this game tomorrow. I think it's going to be a very close game. I don't see neither team scoring a lot of points, but I can see a 24-21 game, 24-21, one way or the other is what I think. Think it'll be lower than that.
I hope you're ready for an Iowa State Kansas State type of game. I think my official prediction for this week was 13-9 Iowa State.
Look at
I think
that.
I think it's gonna be a
Whoa.
rock fight. I think it's gonna be a
Under,
nasty.
folks.
I think it's gonna be a nasty rock fight, man.
50 under 50 and a half.
No chance. No way.
Okay.
I would put your mortgage on that under. There's no way that they hit 50 and a half
I would
points.
too.
There's no way. I think West Virginia's going to have a lot of trouble moving the ball. Maybe in between the 30s, they can probably get some yardage here and there, but Iowa State is salty in the red zone. Like you don't score on Iowa State in the red zone unless you get a humongous head start like Oklahoma did after that interception last week. So I think West Virginia's going to have a lot of trouble putting points up on the board. But Iowa State's probably going to have plenty of their own trouble putting it up on the board. And I don't think it's because of West Virginia's defense. I think it's because Iowa State's offense is just completely out of sorts type of thing. If Iowa State puts it together, they can score 31, 38 points on this team if they put it together and they use their weapons to the best of their ability. But I have no confidence that that's going to happen. So I'm going to go 13 points.
One more thing, Levi. What's the crowd noise going to be like?
It's going to be
a lot of fans there.
Yeah, there'll still be probably 58, 60,000 fans there. And they'll be loud. It's a 2:30 game, so we'll have plenty of time to tailgate beforehand. So we'll be well lubricated and we're ready to go.
There you have it. Our guy Levi Stevenson. You can catch him on SB Nation's Wide Right Natty Light. That's the Iowa State platform for all Cyclone athletics there at SB Nation. Levi, appreciate you stopping by as always, making an appearance, breaking down Matt Campbell's crew for us.
Absolutely. I will say I do have a little bit of a soft spot for West Virginia, though, because I actually did have a cup of coffee in Bridgeport, West Virginia for a while. Nice little town.
It was right here beside of me then.
Yep. Nice.
I'm 10 minutes from Bridgeport.
Oh, there you go. Technically it was Aurora right on the south side of Bridgeport, but close enough.
I'll be looking up Bridgeport, West Virginia then.
Right next to Clarksburg, which is the home of Nick Saban and John Calipari.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher. Not
Clarksburg has cranked out a ton of coaches. It's kind of crazy because Clarksburg is not that big. But lots of big time coaching people coming out of Clarksburg. But anyways, a little fun fact for you coming from the Iowa State.
Very nice.
A lot of big time coaches come out of West Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them,
Oh yeah.
So.
Best thing we got is Dana Holgerson. I guess.
Well, I'm not even going to go into that one.
Or Chris Kleiman or Dana Holgerson. There you go.
Yeah, Joey's not a big Dana Holgerson fan.
Not a Dana Holgerson fan
at all. Not a bit.
He's from Bettendorf. Nope. Yeah. If you want to,
happiest day of my life is when he announced he was going to Houston, and I called my friend in Houston, and he was crying, and I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I don't want Dana down here." So,
well, good news, you'll get to play him again in a couple years. So,
I doubt it. He'll probably be fired.
Well, fair enough, because Houston has gone. They're not that good now.
Yeah.
But. You know what though? If they're bad, that's okay with me because the Big 12's running out of punching bags, and we need one at the bottom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There is not a one in the conference this year, and and you're adding BYU, Cincinnati, and UCF. Those are three very solid programs. Someone's got to be the punching bag, and it's not Kansas anymore, I guess. So now it's Houston. Hopefully, better not be Iowa State. I'm tired of them being the punching bag. We had about 100 years of that.
Texas Tech. How about that?
Texas Tech. See, but like Joey McGuire seems like he might have something there. We'll see.
Yeah, they're not bad. I'm
got
not saying they're a punching bag this year.
He's got a lot of work to do. But they're definitely not a bad team. Their defense is very good this year.
No, they're not.
So I mean, they're far from a punching bag, and I don't know, like, they're still in Texas. They still got a guy that recruits well. And if you can recruit well and you're in Texas, you got a good shot at it. So we'll see. I don't know. I need Houston to be a punching bag, because if they're not, then there's not a one. There is not a single bad team in that 14-team league.
I'll give you some hope. Cincinnati is 3-18 all time against West Virginia. There's just some hope.
I don't think we've played. I'm pretty sure Iowa State and Cincinnati have never played in football. However, I know this is a college football podcast, but I do want to take 1 second to acknowledge apparently the Big 12 is going after Gonzaga as a basketball only member, as if the Big 12 needs more good teams in basketball. Yeah. It's already a monster, and now you're talking about adding Gonzaga to the mix. Oof,
that's a strong move.
We're gonna find out real quick if Gonzaga is legit, because they've been playing in the West Coast Conference forever, which is a bunch of nothing in St. Mary's or whatever. So if Gonzaga can hang in the Big 12, then they're real. But we'll find out pretty quick.
I'm guessing they're legit, but not like 22 and
no, they're not. They're not 29-1 into every NCAA tournament legit.
Yes. Yeah. None of that. Those days are over. All right, Levi. Well, thanks, man. Enjoy the game.
Thank you for having me.
Stay dry. Enjoy the game.
We'll try. It's supposed to rain here till Monday, so we'll find out. So thanks, guys.
See you later.
Okay, there it is. Everything you would ever want to know, folks, about Iowa State football here in 2022. We give it to you here at the West Virginia show at the Voice of College Football. Well, you know what? I'm going to take something, Joey, that we were talking about concerning Matt Campbell and flip it back. And you already gave your kind of quick brush stroke on Neil Brown. But you wonder if at the end of this season, if there's going to be discussion, even if he's retained, that, the administration likes him, likes a lot of the things that he's getting accomplished. But again, it's not getting done on Saturday, and whether the athletic department, the AD, is going to push toward maybe making some coaching changes, not him, but on the staff.
I think that's very well possible. Coach Neil Brown, like I say, he's a great coach. The players love him. He's got a great culture going on. Everybody seems to be in sync. Everybody's on the same page. But there's just like our secondary is being so bad. I don't know how much of that is on our defensive backs coach and how much of that is on our defensive coordinator. And is it on both of them? I think we do need to replace our defensive coordinator without a doubt. Jordan. Oh my goodness, what's his name? I lost his name now. But he came in with Neil Brown. He was there with Vic Koenig. Of course, Vic got fired, and Jordan Leslie is his name. And so Neil Brown made Jordan Leslie and Adai the co-defensive coordinators in 2020. It was a fantastic defense. We had good defense in 19 and 20. Then 21, Adai left, and Leslie took over. The defense fell off a whole lot, and now this year it's just terrible. So that all goes back to Leslie, and it plays in sync with it. So maybe we need to get rid of Leslie and hire Adai and bring him in out of Miami to be our defensive coordinator. So I don't know how that would work out, but that might be a step they take.
And of course, a couple of your best defensive backs took off, as well as this past season, Akeem Messidor, your one or two best defensive linemen, and that hurt. And right. You didn't replace them with any real super impact guys on that side of the ball.
Right. And they followed Adai, and they followed Adai. We lost to Keith Smith in 2020 or 2021. He went to Georgia. He followed Adai because Adai was at Georgia. Now this year, Adai goes to Miami. We lose a couple more to Miami, and Georgia lost one to Miami. So it's just how it's a guy's got a good connection with these players, so it might be worth bringing him in to be the defensive coordinator.
Okay, folks, it's game number 9 for both the Cyclones and the Mountaineers, and there you see it. It's for the basement spot in the Big 12. So West Virginia looking for a second win in the Big 12 and to keep their bowl hopes alive. Obviously, they could lose this game, get to 3-6, and still technically get to a bowl game. But this win is really required to make a push toward a bowl game to get to that 6-6 mark. Keep in mind, we've got a West Virginia channel, and please subscribe over there. We would love to build it to 1,000 subs and make it a much better channel with contributions from all over the place and consistent content there all the time. So even if you don't root for West Virginia, please subscribe to our West Virginia channel.
Yeah, and anybody in here that's a West Virginia fan, if you're a member of any groups on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or anything, any kind of groups whatsoever, copy the link to the channel and post it in there and tell everybody to subscribe. A lot of people don't know about the West Virginia channel, so make sure your friends know. Get them to subscribe. We need to get it to 1,000.
I am dropping it in the chat right now. The link is going in the chat.
Yeah, so if you can just copy and paste that link or open the link and then click on share. If you're on your phone and you can't copy and paste it, just open the link and then click on share the video or share the channel, and you can share it that way.
All right, Joey. I'm going to be here with a nice rapid fire, tight 90 minutes of call-in show from 9 to I'm going to take us to the kickoff of the Washington-Oregon State game. So,
right. Well, I can just drop out and you can leave it going.
What's that?
Or are you going to create a new stream? You're going to create a new stream, or you're going to just
new stream?
Okay.
Shoelay Sooner, appreciate you being here. Hey, Mark and Joey. Hey, football fam. Shoelay Sooner, thanks for being here. Appreciate your support. And yeah, keep it locked in right here. Just stay on the main page. I'm going to come right back in about 30 seconds, and we're going to fire up the phone lines and talk to all of you and lead you up to the game from the Pac-12 tonight. Joey, thanks for holding my hand tonight, taking us through West Virginia Live.
All right. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you inviting me on.
All right, everyone. Keep it right here. Call-in shows coming up next.